Why hello there, this is Alex, welcome to Boomstick Gaming, and in this I'll be breaking down my favorite Final Fantasy VII Remake healer build that requires no spells that scale off the magic stat, nor any MP to cast the primary healing abilities. Barret is going to be the star of the show in this, and for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'll not be doing the whole character switching thing that you should be doing during combat, so I can keep the perspective right on him. This support healer build for Barret revolves around quickly recharging the ATB gauge to keep the party's health topped off, while also using him to mitigate and absorb the entire team's incoming damage. There are quite a few layers to how all this synergizes together, but let's start out with the absolute basics first. The two primary forms of healing we'll be using with Barret, which cost no MP to cast and don't scale off the magic stat, will be Prayer, which heals the entire team at the cost of 2 ATB charges, and Chakra, which will help Barret maintain the skill Lifesaver, which we will be getting back to. Both of these two heals will be boosted by equipping the Healing Care Kinet on Barret, which will improve the effectiveness of both since we'll be doing them quite often. The reason Barret is ideal for this style of build is thanks to how quickly he can build up the ATB gauge from nearly any range, and also the very last hit of his basic combo along with the Blast of Overcharge will also greatly increase your ATB gauge. A little gameplay trick you should always be doing to maximize your ATB charging is to avoid this little reload animation he does in between each of his basic combos, and instead, during that animation, hit the charge button mapped to triangle to use that opportunity to continually power overcharge during your basic attacks without extra pause. Something optional to also have on this build to further improve the ATB gain will be the Time Materia, which will allow Barret to maintain haste, which will increase the passive regen of his ATB gauge. Combining this, along with his already very fast charge times with his main attacks, allow you to continually cast Prey and Chakra quite regularly. Although we are only halfway through this build, now is a good time to hit that subscribe button for me if you happen to like my more straightforward approach to gaming content, and since I'm just a solo dude doing all this, I greatly appreciate any support you can give. Thanks. Next, I prefer using Barret's weapon, the Big Bertha, thanks to its high HP upgrades, but more importantly, the skill Desperate Recovery, which will boost healing by 50% when Barret is under 25, which we will be aiming for to fire off the ability Chakra. When you are not topping off your team's health with Prayer, you will be maintaining Barret's health with Chakra in conjunction with the ability he can learn from the light machine gun, Lifesaver. Lifesaver will funnel the majority of oncoming damage from your party members straight to Barret, who can easily recover from this with his boosted version of Chakra. You can tell when you have Lifesaver active by this little symbol on Barret's bar, and it does last a pretty long time but will need to be recast eventually. Now, something optional you can use to lessen the damage funneled to Barret is the Barrier Materia linked to Magnify, which will allow us to cast either Barrier, Mana Ward, or ideally Mana Wall, which will straight out lessen physical and magic damage by half for the entire team thanks to Magnify. This does cost a decent amount of MP, but something that can help you regen this is another passive skill on the Big Bertha weapon, Trade-Off, which will recover some MP every time Barret takes big hits of damage, which he will likely be doing for the entire team anyways. You will also want to have the Materia First Strike to get this build up and running as soon as possible when combat starts. You'll want to get Haste, Mana Wall, and Lifesaver up and running as soon as possible to start funneling and recovering all that damage to Barret. The last few Materia slots on Barret you can play around with. I just usually throw on HP and MP, but you might want to consider substituting in something like ATB Boost or Refocus, entirely up to you. Now, what's great about this build is that all the abilities that are absolutely necessary cost no MP to cast, and you can easily maintain much of this healing build simply by using Prey, Chakra, and Lifesaver, which are entirely powered just from the ATB. And with that, that pretty much sums up my go-to healer support bro, Barret. Down in the comments, let me know what you think of this build, or ways you can improve it, or if you have an entirely different approach to keeping your team's health topped off. If you happen to enjoy my style of informative gaming content with a focus on gameplay mechanics and systems, consider subscribing to Boomstick Gaming for more, clicking that little bell icon to stay up to date on my future uploads, and you can also find me on Twitter at BoomstickAlex. Lastly, a big mention to these top tier patrons and YouTube members who help to keep this individually owned and operated channel functioning. As always, this has been Alex from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for watching.